So hello everyone. My name is Jerome Alves. I'm the lead iOS developer at Itch, and today I'd like to talk a bit about continuous integration. So first of all, I will ask you to participate a bit. So please raise your hand if you do continuous integration in your team. So okay. But you keep your hand raised. And now we will have you will have to put your hand down if any of the following situation came one day in your life. So if you ever worked on a branch more than 1 month, you can drop your hand. If you work on a pull request having more than 100 commits, you can lower your hand. And again, if you worked on a pull request having 5,000 lines of code. OK. So I think we lost most of people here. And you might wonder what's the point actually with continuous integration and things like Jenkins, CircleCI, and Bitrise. And actually, Soroush Kanlou summarized the situation really well on his blog post this summer. And he said, build servers are just a tool used in the service of continuous integration. They don't represent the philosophy behind it. The name carries the meaning quite well. It's about continuously, as frequently as possible, integrate your work into some shared place, usually a mainline branch. And this has some implications. So you shouldn't have to deal with horrible merges and horrible code reviews with big pull requests and stuff like that. And if you have to stop what you are working on, it shouldn't be lost forever or having a branch that you will have to maintain for months. And finally, when you work on something, your teammates should be able to start to using it, to review it, and to see how it works before it hits the final feature in the application. So obviously, we had these issues at Itch, and we thought it was time for a change. So we adopted what we call the trunk-based development workflow. So basically, it means that we replace big features branches by several smaller branches. And usually, we can do that by splitting a big feature, like, I don't know, an onboarding flow, by sub-feature, so maybe the list screen, the detail screen, and then the edition flows. And even these sub-features, we can split them by layer. So we will work first on the model, then on the views, then on view model, etc. It works with any architecture. Don't worry. So with this workflow, we fixed these two first implications because we don't have big branches, so we don't have big pull requests, but we still have an issue with this one. How can we see the result? When we are working on a view or on a view model, how can we see how it works before we merge it? Playgrounds. Yeah, surprising. So actually, we thought playgrounds were a great technology for this because we can add some views and it displays the views immediately on the assistant editor. And it was really fun. It was really great. We were happy until we had some issues with the stability of Xcode and playgrounds. We had more issues when we upgraded to a new third-party framework or into Swift, a new Swift version, because as the code in Playground is not compiled alongside the main project, actually, if you introduce some breaking changes, you won't be aware that it breaks also the playgrounds. And then you notice that playgrounds become obsolete quickly after the merge of few branch, because when you try to open it a few months later, it doesn't work at all because it crashes and you change how the library works and stuff like that. And finally, playgrounds are actually not shareable with QA teams or product managers. And when I was speaking about teammates being able to see your result, I also speak about product managers, the QA team, because these are the people that will actually verify that what you are doing behaves like it is supposed to do. And this is not possible with playgrounds, because we don't want product managers installing this code and stuff like that. So what will be playground without the grant? Showcases. So what's a showcase? According to the iOS dictionary, it's a place for presenting something favorably to general intention. And how do we present stuff on iOS? A view controller. So actually, a showcase is this really simple idea is something that creates a view controller. And then this view controller, we can put anything we want inside, and that's all. And the nice thing here is that thanks to Objective-C magic runtime, it's pretty easy to get all Objective-C classes at runtime, and then find only the classes conforming to the showcase protocol. And with just that, we are able to build a nice showcase browser like this, so we can have different depths and stuff like that. So that's how it works. Now, what is showcase-driven development in practice? So let's imagine we are working on a conference application. We have this screen for the detail of a conference. And first, we will work on the header view. So in showcase-driven development, we will start with a showcase. So we have this conference detail subviews showcase that needs a view controller. So as we are working on the header view, we will create the header view. We will feed it with some dummy data, and we will add it to a view controller. Because it doesn't need to be a custom subclass of UI view controller, we can do it like this. And eventually, with some code reuse and composition, you can create a view controller generic that can embed any view. And here it is. You have your first showcase showcasing your header view. You can open a new pull request with only that, just a header view, nothing more. So now we can work on the content view of the cell of the list. So we get the same showcase because it's about subviews, and we will add the code for the cell. And the same way, we will feed it with some dummy data, and we'll add everything to a stack. And again, with composition, we can easily create a stack view controller so it's more readable. And now we can create a new pull request. And now we will try to work on the view controller, so the thing that actually brings the logic and put every pieces together. So we create a new showcase, the conference detail view controller showcase, and we can just return the view controller. But usually, a view controller alone is not enough, so you probably need to pass some view model. But usually, having a view model alone is not enough, and you usually need to pass something that can get data somewhere. So maybe it's an API. So usually, for this kind of patterns, what we do is we create an API service protocol that will define all functions that get data on the API. And then we will have a concrete implementation, for example, using the URL session to get this data and decoding them, and etc. And then we can use them in the showcase. So for example, we can create a real conference detail showcase that will use the real API. We can create a fake conference detail that will use a stub of this API service. Then we maybe want to see how it works with an empty state, so an API service that returns no talks. So we create a new stub for this, for the no talks case. And then we want to try the error state, so we need a new stub again for the, okay, so it's more stub than I can handle, because for every stub, I will need to stub all methods, all the endpoints of the API service, even if I need only one or two of them in the view model. So it's a waste of time. So what we do instead is we inject data instead of injecting dependencies. And for that, the functional reactive programming is really useful. So here is Eric Swift. It works with Combine, no offense. And the idea is to abstract the dependency into the observable itself. So instead of injecting the API that will be useful to get the data, we just inject a function returning an observable of conference or an observable of talks. And with just that, we don't need anything else because everything else is provided by the Eric Swift framework or Combine framework. So we just can create a dummy data, for example, for the French kit conference type. Then we do the same with the talks. And then we inject them in the view model. And the nice thing is that we get some stuff for free. For example, here we can simulate a loading of 2 seconds. And we just need to change this to simulate the normal case, then the empty state, and then the error state. And here we have 3 new showcases. We can open a new pull request. So that's great, but how it looks like with a real feature we actually shipped in our application. So I will showcasing you the ride history, which is a historic of rides. And for this feature, we developed 7 showcases. So we have these subviews showcases, like we just built together earlier. We have the same for the detail screen. And then we will have our coordinated flows, like the real ride history with the real data from the backend. The ride history with absolutely no ride, so we can see that the empty state is working properly. The same with the error state. So it has a nice retry button. Then we can try how it looks like with just a few rides, and how it works with load more navigation. And this quite big feature has been done with a lot of pull requests. Actually, it was done using 19 pull requests. And the developer worked on this during a whole month. And it was continuously integrated in the mainline branch with all these pull requests during this month. And after that, we decided it was not a priority to ship it, so it waits a month to be actually be integrated in the application itself. But during that time, it was already in the mainline branch, so we don't have to deal with any conflicts or stuff like that. The biggest pull request diff was about 700 lines of code, which is not that big, because if this feature was made in only 1 pull request, it would have been 10 times more. And last but not least, it only requires 5 comments per pull request. And I don't know if you do code reviews, but if you have too much comments, it's really not nice to handle for the developer and the reviewers. So that's how I met real continuous integration. And now I want to share with you some different flavors of showcases, because it drives us so much that we start to doing showcases for unexpected things. So, for example, when we are working on a prototype, we do it in a showcase. So everyone in the company can see how it looks like. So, for example, when we start to work on a redesign of our application, we made some prototypes in showcases that are available in the application. We have the subviews list we already saw. And then we have some kind of showcases that are not intended to be used actually in the application, but they are more used by people in the team, for example, to know what colors are available, how our fonts look like, what kind of icons are available. Obviously, we have the coordinated flows, and this is really interesting because, for example, so each is a ride-hailing application. If you want to try how is working the rating screen, we don't want to set up two simulators, one for the driver, one for the passenger, simulate a real ride to get to the rating screen. So instead of that, we can just open the showcase and see that everything is working properly. And then we have this crazy thing, which are view configurators. When we are working on specific views that can have a lot of states with a lot of animations, we do these kind of things where we have all the possibilities in the showcase itself, and we can just tweak it and see how it behaves. So, how to start if you want to integrate showcases in your application? The best way is to do it yourself, actually, because it's not something complicated. It's just one protocol with one function. So I would recommend you to do it yourself because you can do something really adapted to your team and your code base, and I think it's really important. And you can add features little by little according to your needs. If you need maybe some tags, I don't know, you can do it. If you need different features, you can do them. And also because Objective-C is really fun to play with, especially the runtime. But if you don't want to do it yourself, we just released this morning at 7 a.m. The open source version of Showcase Kit. So it's available on CocoaPods and Swift Package Manager. It includes the Showcase protocol with some other options to get the pass and stuff like that. It has a built-in Showcase browser, so you can present it how you want in your application. And it comes with an example app, so you can see how it works properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jérôme. I really like the name, Showcase Development.
Yeah, I'm not really into fancy names, so I had Showcase. Why not Showcase? No, maybe not.
So you use that a lot in your app. Is it like everything is covered with that, or do you have some?
Obviously, some legacy screens we have is not covered by that, but every new features we develop, we make a showcase for them.
I guess it's easy to migrate to this, even with old screens, isn't it?
Yeah. We except for maybe the dependency integration part. If some legacy screens are not well developed, it's maybe harder to do that because we really need this way to inject data. But otherwise, yeah, it's pretty easy.
Okay, and that's also what I like is like you don't have a lot to change, and it's like easily you can put that gradually in your app and
totally.
start playing with that. And in my company, we usually try to add some screenshots of the new features in the PR, but it doesn't go as deep as just adding a real test case that you can access from an app. Yeah. That's great, and I guess that other people than developers can use that. And how do they react with that? How are they super happy, and are they really fond of
because
that?
sometimes it allows them to try something that we maybe discard for a few weeks, and we can still work on it, and the QA team can say, oh, this actually works not well,
like,
and they can use it to.
And designers, product owners, do they play with that?
Designer, not that much, but project managers to verify if some bugs is actually in the application and not on the backend. We can just open the showcase, configure it with our data, and see if it works like it's supposed to work.
Nice. And the devs, they are happy? The developers?
I think so, because actually the example I show you was made by a developer that really embraced this methodology, maybe more than other people. So it's something that helped them really well on a daily basis.
And so is your CI building an app with all the showcases for the internal team?
Actually, we have a debug menu for the debug app, and the showcase browser is included in that
Okay, nice.
debug menu.
Nice.
So
It's not
everyone,
an Easter egg where you...
no. It's not even compiled in the
Okay.
application on production on the App Store. So we have this build settings that can exclude all files containing showcase, for example. Yeah.
And I guess you can use SwiftUI with this as well.
Yeah, that's really an interesting question because SwiftUI, we just saw in the previous talk, as this nice thing called SwiftUI previews. And actually, SwiftUI previews just need an UI view, a Swift UI view, Swift view. And actually, we can convert a view controller into a view with a protocol, which is make view controller with some coordinator. And so it's really easy to take the code from a showcase, call the make view controller of the showcase, and convert it to a real view controller accessible in the view, in Swift UI view runtime. And we can have this Swift preview this way. And it works the other ways. If you have Swift UI views, you can embed them in UI hosting view controller, and you can present them in a showcase.
You had friends at Apple who told you that SwiftUI was getting ready.
No, maybe not.
Yes.
Okay, just one last short question about, like, it seems that you can share stuff between your actual test and these views. For example, the test data and stuff like that. Do you actually do that?
Yeah, actually, so the pattern I show about data injection is something that really helps our unit test too, because we don't have anymore to write stubs for big protocols. And with Swift, we just can inject the data we want to test in our unit test.
Yeah, and you decouple the code.
Yeah, and actually it's funny because we also try to do some automatic snapshotting of view controllers generating in showcases.
Yeah, now I know what it is.
Yeah.
Very important question. I saw a very important question. I saw a photo of John Sandell in your slides. Did you ask him is the right to publish the photo?
Yeah, of course I asked him. And
is that true?
Yeah, I asked him because I wanted to do this Easter egg because he has a great series of different flavors of on his website. So that's it.
Very good.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jérôme.